Welcome to Talking Buffalo, featuring conversations with guests from around the world of sports, media, pop culture, and all things Buffalo. With your host, Patrick Moran.
All right, what is going on, everybody? How you doing? Welcome to on the video side anyway, a live post-game edition, Buffalo Bills post-game of Talking Buffalo, your weekday daily driver for Buffalo Sports Talk and more. My name is Patrick Moran. Big thank you to everyone out there, as always, for watching and for listening, for following and subscribing. Appreciate y'all very much. Today's episode is presented by our friends from Sunny Reds 1841 Abbott Road. All right, so we are live, like I said, on the video side anyway, audio or video. You can watch this later on demand. As always, Bills post games. I'm joined by Joe from Queens. I got to say something right off the bat here before. Do you have a beer to crack, whether you do or you don't? All right, you do.
Oh, I do.
You'll crack it in a second. You could crack it and respond to this, but
I'll wait.
I want to start with the statement here, okay? This
Sure,
is
no
impossible. This is impossible almost impossible to believe. I shouldn't say impossible because it literally happened, but the Buffalo Bills scored 42 points on the road in a game where the defense got them no takeaways. They had literally no short fields. They did not have a short field to work with the entire game. Dalton Kincaid did not play. Keon Coleman did not play. The running backs had 7 carries between all three of them combined for 21 yards. 42 points they put up on the road, and they lose. They lose to the LA Rams 44-42, one of the more unbelievable games in some regards that you'll see in one of the more pathetic defensive efforts that you will ever see from the Buffalo Bills. Some really bad coaching as well. Obviously, we're going to get into all that. Kind of beer you got, Joe from Queens?
I have a Everything Naughty by Omegang. It's a white chocolate imperial blonde stout. So it's white chocolate. It's a blonde stout, which I have never had before. We'll see how it tastes. I mean, it's white chocolate. You know, everything's naughty. That the Bills defense has been naughty today. And
that's an understatement. That is an understatement.
Yeah,
Got a lot of comments flowing already. I'm going to get to some early on, but most of them I'm going to save for the end of the show. I want to let everybody.
Yeah, if anyone wants to transcribe the McDermott press conference because it's happening as we speak, or it was happening,
I think it just concluded.
If anyone wants to tell us why he decided to do a lot of the weird stuff that we're about to bitch about, feel free to let us know in the comments.
It's funny because, dude, we can go so many ways with tonight, and we're gonna get there no matter how we go about it. But the good, the bad, the ugly, the offense good, the defense bad, right, the coaching ugly. There's a lot to get to. I saw a stat. I got to put this up here on the screen for everybody because this is hard to believe right now. And I'm going to put it up. Where is it? There it is. Entering today, and this stat is courtesy of Dante Koplowitz Fleming. He says, entering today, teams with at least 6 touchdowns and 0 giveaways in a game were 245-0 in the Super Bowl era, including the playoffs. 245-0. The Bills are the first team to do so in a loss. It is, again, mind-blowing. The only thing that stopped Josh Allen was his own defense. Where do you want to start, man? I'm going to give you the keys.
Now you're giving me the keys.
I'm going to give you in real time here.
You told me before I couldn't start what I wanted to start with.
Well, because you want to talk about the coaching first. And I think while it was puzzling at times and disgraceful at others, I don't think it's the biggest reason the Bills lost this game. Although I will say Sean McVay, even the last 2 minutes aside, I thought Sean McVay put on a clinic. I thought he embarrassed Sean McDermott and Bobby Babbage today. But
yeah,
I don't know, man.
I think, where I want to start is the last 3 minutes is where I like to start with, since you're letting me start with, even though before you said I couldn't, but I'm going to do it in terms of this way. It felt like a little bit of Sean McDermott's greatest or worst hits in this case when it came to just the management of the game. and we've seen this before. Like, I'm not saying that this is the reason why they lost. Like, they lost because the defense was abysmal. But what happened in that last 3 minutes with, it being 4th and 7, and then they decide instead of taking they get a holding penalty, and then they're like, you know what, we're gonna take the penalty and we're gonna make it 3rd and 17. Why? Your defense hasn't done a damn thing today. Why are you trying to do this? Like, why are you extending the game? Now, if you want to say, well, it's because the Rams were going to go for it on 4th and 7. I don't know if they were, but if you want to say they are, fine. I'll go with that. But here's what I have. Fine, whatever. It was 4th and 7, sure. But then on freaking 3rd down, your defense, it was straight out of the Kansas City 13-second game.
Yes.
Soft ass defense. Where they're like, okay, we're gonna give you 12 yards. Like, go ahead. Yep. And it's like, did you not consider, like, if you and I, or if you're sitting here, Pat, and you're telling me, oh, they were gonna go for it, then why the hell did you just give up another 12 points if you didn't think they were, or 12 yards, if you didn't think they were going to do that? I wonder if Sean McDermott did not consider them going for it on 4th down. He just wanted to extend the game, or he wanted them to go pushing back because maybe he thought they were going to attempt a 55-yard field goal or whatever. Like, that right there, that the way they called that defense was terrible. Like, that's that on that down. Then you go to the timeout thing.
Hold on. No, because your point is perfect. I was ready to go back at you. I was ready to push back with you when you said, well, why did they accept the penalty? Because were they going to go for it on 4th and 7? The answer was 100% yes. Sean McVay was going for that on 4th down. But where you're right, where you win me over, where I think you should, if they're not already won over with everyone else, where you should win everyone over, you're 100% right, is you make it 3rd and 17, and you're basically just willing to give them a free 10 yards. You're playing a soft tissue zone that just invited the Rams to get to 4th in a very manageable, where they ultimately end up going anyway for it. It only cost them like a yard and a half. It was like 4th and 6.5. So you got them at 3rd and 17. And then you're willing to concede 10 yards.
Yeah, what was the point of doing it? Exactly. Right. Well, what was the point? And I'm telling you, I think he didn't consider, while you assumed they were going to go for, okay, fine, I'll assume they were going to go for. Sean McDermott must not have assumed that, because why would you play that soft of a defense? And it was the same shit he did before. And then the next drive, the Bills have the ball inside the 2-3 yard line. They freaking run the freaking snowplow play, or whatever the hell it's called, the tush push. And you have all 3 of your timeouts. You haven't used any of your timeouts at all on that final drive the Bills had. You haven't. So you're saving those because, like, great, you got 3, get the ball back. Even if you get the ball, if the Rams get the ball back with like 45 seconds left, you still got your 3 timeouts. Okay, you didn't get on the first try. First off, you probably shouldn't have tried to go for it on that, like the push right away. You maybe should have done something else, maybe, and then run it. But okay, sure. I mean, I thought maybe you would have waited. But then, instead of getting up and trying to spike the ball or just hurrying up, they're like, oh, we got to take a timeout. Game's over. In case you haven't fucking noticed, you can't recover onside kicks anymore with the way the rules are anymore. It's just like what the fuck? Like, and that just, to me, encapsulated like Sean McDermott, what we've seen before with these gutalytics in like
big moment, Sean. Big moment, Sean, at his worst. You're right. Look, the one thing a lot of people, and I get it, they're burying Joe Brady, because that's either it's Joe Brady or it's Josh Allen himself saying I could take it in, and he doesn't. I believe the ball's on the 1 yard line, because Amari Cooper, there was a defensive pass interference in the end zone, so it was from the 1 yard line. They didn't get in. That sucks. But yes, where he made his mistake, the timeout was just such a devastating
end of the game. It was done.
Yes, you either do one or two things. You either call in the huddle. If we don't get in, we're lining right up and I'm running it again, which I think that was what they were. Well, it wasn't what they were going to do, because they called the fucking timeout.
Yeah.
But what it should have been was, all right, we're going to run the Josh Allen tush push. And if we don't get in, either one or two things, we're either going to run it again immediately, or we're going to spike the ball on 2nd down, which I don't think they're going to do that, because you might as well just snap the ball and go forward for a half yard and get the touchdown. But to not have that plan in place after, and you got time, because again, Amari Cooper had fucking pass interference in the end zone. So they got first and goal from the 1, and you call a timeout. So you either spike or you run it again. You might lose, you will lose 10 seconds off the game clock. But guess what? That 10 seconds off the game clock pales in comparison to the price that it costs you to use one of those fucking timeouts, because if you don't, and even if you lose 10 seconds of game clock, you kick the ball off, you got all 3 timeouts, you can still get the ball back with 30, maybe at worst 25, 30 seconds. You get 2 big plays, and you at least got a crack to win the game with a field goal. That was inexcusable. I see him getting buried all over the place. And it's not just irate, angry fans. It's not overly emotional content creators. I mean, these are people who cover the team. Jay Skursky, Matt Bove. I'm watching a lot of these guys bury, and rightfully so, Sean McDermott. Just fucking terrible.
And
terrible.
Then you
I got another one. I got another Sean blunder too, but go ahead.
No, I was about to tell the Sean McDermott, the third one. You go for it. You can take the heat. Go for it.
Well, I took a lot of heat on social media because I was fighting with people literally in real time as this happened. It's 4th and 2. There's 56 seconds left in the half. You're on your own 41-yard line, but it's 4th and 2. Your defense has firmly established that you ain't stopping shit this game. You're not stopping nobody. It's 4th and 2. This was who gets the ball last, is going to win this game type game if the Bills are going to win. That was very obvious. But it's 4th and 2 from your own 41, and they punt. I fucking hated that call. They pin them back, whatever. The Rams just want to get to halftime, and they do. And they're down 24-14, so they're down 2 scores. In my opinion, at that point, a lot of people will push back, and there's at least, I feel like the first 2 things we talked about is very one-sided. There's 2 sides of the story. You could say, well, the defense has been playing better in the second half all year. We want blah, 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 blah. But to me, you got a quarterback who they can't stop, and you got a defense who cannot stop their offense. I'm going for it on 4th and 2, period. And if you don't get it, whatever, you try to hold them to 3 or they score, whatever the fuck, it doesn't even matter because you can't stop them whether it's an 80-yard drive or a 40-yard drive. So what the hell does it even matter? So I did have a problem with the Sean McDermott punt as well as a preparation for the game in period. But that was my third beef that I had with Sean McDermott.
Well, and the fourth one, which I think you already forgot because you brought it up to me before we started recording, he only had 9 guys on the field for the punt at the end of the game.
Yeah. He said that in the press conference.
Yeah, like 9?
He was asked. I did see that. He was asked why the Bills didn't try for a block punt at the end of the game, which, that was a big part of the game for the Rams. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But, yeah, he says we only had 9 guys on. They didn't have a timeout either. So,
yeah.
What happens to this team in big moments, in tight games, is just it's mind-blowing again and again and again and again.
And it goes in those moments it goes to Sean McDermott. And look, I want to like Sean McDermott. He has made me like him, whereas before I couldn't handle his cliches. And I give him credit. He's changed the culture, and I don't use culture ever. I hate culture. But he's made me kind of believe in that sort of stuff. But last week he's doing snow angels. I'm like, oh wow, he's got a personality. Maybe he's changed from being the dickhead that Ty Dunn was described as in terms of his former coaches and players. And then you do this at the end of the last these mind-boggling you can get a kid who plays Madden who can game manage at certain situations better. But when it gets crunch time or nut cutting time, it's just, you feel like we get these games once every 3 months maybe, or every 12 games we get this. It felt a little bit like the Texans game. It felt also from this year. It also felt like the Eagles game from last year. Where the Eagles game was the same thing. Where I'm trying to remember what he did, but I remember there were things in that game where he was fucking up, and then the defense was terrible too. But they didn't go for it. They didn't go for it on a 4th down late in the game. It gave the Eagles a chance, and then they kicked that long field goal to set it to overtime. Yeah, and that's just a frustrating thing to me because it's we'll talk about the defense now. I like to hope that the defense, this was just a really bad day at the office, and maybe they'll have other, they'll pick it up, and this was a bad day. But the Sean McDermott stuff is just, we see this in the most crucial ways, and these are things that you shouldn't be making these mistakes still. And these game management things happen, and it's just I was ready, Pat. Look, midway through the fourth quarter, I was like, okay, look, they're gonna lose this game, but you know what? Josh Allen looks great. It's one game. It happens. They lose games. I was ready to make my peace and go, all right, you know what? Whatever. Kiss the one, see goodbye. It's fine. We'll get him next week. And then the last 3 minutes happens when it's oh my God, we have a shot to win this game. Yeah. And then the coaching thing with the third, accepting the penalty, and then the soft defense, 9 guys on the punt return. This is stuff that you're just what is, did did he just like forget how to coach in that last 3 minutes? It's just stupid shit that we've seen before, and doesn't mean like we want to fire him or whatever, or they're going to be terrible and they're going to lose every game. We're not saying that, but it's just like these are those moments where you kind of hope they're in the rear view mirror and we can move on, and instead they come back, and it's like Halloween 7, the revenge of Sean McDermott's shitty game managements.
I will, when it comes to Sean McDermott, I will go to bed tonight and I will wake up on Monday morning and I'll still be annoyed, but I'll get over accepting the penalty to make it 3rd and 17 instead of 4th and 7. I still won't like it, but I'll be okay with it. At least I'll get over punting late in the second quarter. Again, you can make a case that you're only down 10. The game's not completely away from you. You're going to have faith in your defense, blah, 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 blah. But I will wake up tomorrow and I'm still going to be fucking angry that Sean McDermott wasted a timeout when it was glaringly obvious that the way to have an opportunity, a real one, to win this game, short of getting an onside kick, was to score and stop them 3 straight times where they only use up maybe 10 to 12 seconds of game clock, 15 seconds maybe at the most. If you can get a stop on 1st, 2nd, and 3rd down, make them punt and still have an opportunity. But you robbed your team of that by blowing a fucking timeout because they didn't get in, which, again, bad play call or it just didn't work. We could debate that. They could have ran a lot of other things. I understand that, and I will agree with that. I don't think it was the right call either, although they are highly successful doing that from 1 yard in or less. But to not go right back to the line and do that again, I'm going to be just as annoyed, or if not pissed off, tomorrow and Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday as I am right now, as we're doing this pretty much live right after the game. And I'll say one more thing about Sean McDermott too. He is a culture guy. He's turned this franchise around in some ways. Players like being here. They speak glowingly of him. And I think Sean McDermott, and this matters, he is a master of not losing the teams that stink. There's a lot of, like the Ravens, every year you see it. They lose to the Raiders. They lose to the Browns at home. The Bills don't do shit like that. Sean McDermott has his team ready to play those games. He takes advantage of shitty quarterbacks. They win the games they're supposed to, which is a lot because they are the better football team. But time and time again in these tight games, these big moments, you just see gag jobs. That timeout was an example of a gag job. I'll never say it was the most egregious thing I've ever seen because 13 seconds will always be there. Mm-hmm. But this was fucking just terrible, man. And I think I've sworn more in the first 17 minutes of the show than I have probably this whole season.
Yeah.
I'm pissed off. I'm like you. I was relegated to just saying, it's a bad day, like you said, man. Just a lot of things didn't go their way. I was okay with it. I was calm. But again, when the coaching, which is not the reason they lost this game, we're about to get in the reason why they lost this game, but when the coaching is not an asset, when it's a liability, which it was this game, that just really pisses me off.
Yeah. I mean, the coaching is that last 3 minutes, like I said, that just brought me back into like, what the hell, dude? Like it's like this yearly, as I said, it's every like 10, 12 games. We get this really weird, like the Bills always play this game of the year during the regular season and then they lose it. Like this was a great game. I mean, 40, like what, 800, like almost 900 yards in total offense, like 80 points or whatever the hell they scored, like 88, 6, whatever. And it was a great game of the year and they lost it. It's like, I don't really like want to be in these types of games, but just the last 3 minutes with Sean is just like, come on, man. Like, don't do that shit again. Like, it just, whenever, like I said, when it gets clutch like that, those things kind of tend to happen sometimes. And I'm kind of sick of that.
What I'm most sick of is we've spent a lot of time talking, and understandably so, about the coach and the decisions, which may or may not have mattered. Okay, let's say the Bills, let's say they don't call timeout, and they still got all 3 of their timeouts at the end. The odds say that, I'm sure the percentages say that it wouldn't have mattered. Okay, which it did. I get it, but to me, I'm done for this episode anyway, letting the defense escape anything else, because this defense was complete and utter garbage. It was trash on every single level. The defensive line, the linebackers, the secondary, complete and utter garbage. Probably their worst defensive effort I can remember, at least in the last handful of years. And here's the difference, folks. They got smacked in Baltimore. They played like shit, at least for the first half in Houston. But there were excuses for the defense in those games. Like Teron Johnson did not play in those games. Terrell Bernard did not play against Baltimore, at least. They had other injuries. This defense came into this game healthy. All 11 guys that were supposed to be out there were out there, all of them. And they were healthy with their depth, too. They had all their horses, and they gave up with the Rams 38 points of offense, 457 total yards, 28 first downs. They were 11 of 14 on third downs, and one of them was a stop at the end of the game, too. So essentially, they were 11 for 13 on third downs, 1 for 1 on fourth down, especially when it mattered the most there near the end of the game. They produced 0 turnovers. They produced fucking 0 sacks. I think they had maybe 2 to 3 pressures on Stafford the entire game. They couldn't stop, and someone said it, they couldn't stop a cold in the chat. 100% accurate. And holy shit, bro, Puka Nacua, their stars play like stars. Puka Nacua dominated the Bills. 12 catches for $162 and a touchdown. Also ran for a touchdown. Cooper Kupp, 5 catches for 92 yards. That catch he made in the end zone when Rasul Douglas tried to bring it down. The ball just pinned to his leg. I was like, come on, man. You got to be kidding me. Stafford was brilliant, too. I mean, Josh Allen was special, but Stafford was very, very good, too. 23 of 30, 320 yards, 2 touchdowns. Again, dude, 457 yards, 28 first downs. Almost half their plays ended up going for first downs, man. The defense was just trash. Rasul Douglas, trash in this game. Groot, we've been singing his praises all year. Where was he in this game? Garbage. Teron Johnson, a stud. Anything but stud. The AJ Vanessa was terrible. Ed Oliver. Who? Ed who? Where was Ed Oliver? Minus maybe 1 or 2 plays this whole game. This defense sucked. And that's why we're having this type of conversation, not because of Sean McDermott. Sean didn't help, but we're having this conversation because that defense sucked.
You say suck? How many more times can you say suck?
I don't know.
Is that 10,
I'm not creative enough to come up with other
You're
words.
definitely not creative enough. That's for sure. No, I'll say this about the Rams. Heading into this game, do you know how many times they scored 30 points this season?
No.
Once. Do you know how many times they had 21 or fewer points this year?
No.
8 times. 8 times.
They're different with their offense healthy.
Yes,
now,
I know
yes.
that, but like this is not like the greatest show on turf Rams, okay? This isn't like a juggernaut Rams team of freaking Warner like 3-4 years ago. Yeah, they just dominated the Bills, and it's something that we have talked about. Like, what worries me the most about the Bills defense or the Bills in general? It's when they play a team that can pass and rush. It's not and run the football. Excuse me. It's not about like stopping the run. Like it's about stopping both that against teams that could do both. That's the issue. I think they could stop the run if you are a one-dimensional running football team and you have like, give me an example of a team that has a great running game but not really a good quarterback. Like maybe like I know Russell Wilson's been better as of late, but like the Steelers kind of in a way. Like they can run the football or
Chargers to an extent, maybe.
Justin Herbert's good.
Broncos, the Denver Broncos, they like to run the ball, play good defense.
Those type of teams where it's like, okay, hey, they're not going to scare you with the pass, but yeah, you can stop them even if they rush really well. But if you could do both, they caused the Bills fits. They caused them fits with the Ravens earlier this season. Same thing with the Texans earlier this season. When you can do both, the Bills have issues. They had kind of issues against Miami, when Bass made that 62-yarder because Miami could throw and run pretty well. And that to me is a detriment. And you're playing teams in the playoffs, like down the road, that can do both of those. I think the Chargers can play both, can pass and run. We know the Ravens can do that. We know that the Texans can kind of do that. But like these are teams that can do a really well. They can do balance. They can beat you both ways. And I think that has been the Bills' issue with the defense. When you go against those teams, that's the issue. And today we saw that because the Rams could do whatever they wanted. They they were good again with the run in the past today. They could have done whatever they wanted to today. And that's I think the issue with the Bills going forward. But yeah, it was an abysmal defensive performance. It stunk today. I mean, you couldn't. Their third down defense was just trash today. Like it reminded me, like it was like Super Bowl 25 with the third down defense. You know, it was
11
just
and
terrible.
14. And
It was
again, for all
terrible.
intents and purposes, it was 11 for 13 if you really think about it. Look, 100%. And this was a game to me where, and I had a hot take during the game. I'm going to tell you and everyone
no.
watching or listening, and you let me know if you agree with this or not. But to me, a defense, when you're not good up front, it leads to being exposed against certain teams. This was, in my opinion, the best receiver tandem the Bills played this year and probably going to play all year. Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua with Stafford and Williams. This is a lot of weapons on that football team. DeMarcus Robinson was very good too before he got hurt. But to me, it starts up front. And when you're weak in the middle of your defense up front, it's going to cause a lot of problems. And again, DaQuan Jones had a great play on the very first play of the game, and then he was almost silent. Again, Ed Oliver, I think he had one rush. He might have had one nice hit, but for the most part, Ed Oliver was another nothing burger from Ed Oliver. I mean, let's just call it what it is. This guy's not supposed to be Dwayne Carter or Austin Johnson. He's a fucking star player who gets played like one. And where's the star plays from your star player? You either see it like in tons, or you don't see it at all. There's no in between with this dude. He's just never steady and consistent. And I don't give a shit what film people out there are going to throw 30 minutes of film together to show me that Ed Oliver played perfectly fine. Bullshit. He didn't. And this is probably the fifth, sixth time this season where I could say that. Here was my hot take. The Bills right now, this football team, they could use Jalen Carter, the defensive tackle from Philadelphia. I'd rather have him than Justin Jefferson on this football team. If you said, give me Jalen Carter or give me Justin Jefferson, it would take me about 3 seconds to tell you that I want Jalen Carter on this team because the middle of this defense is just not good enough. The offense is fine. I saw a comment. I was going to wait. I'll pull it up right now. That is not a fucking shit take. That is not a hot
shit take. That's what it is.
Comedian Mo Brown commented, all right, Keon and Dalton being out didn't help. And all due respect, I appreciate watching in the comment. What are we doing here? They scored 42 points without them, and they would have kept scoring more if they got the ball. They didn't even have the ball that much because their defense couldn't get off the fucking field. What are we talking about here? How much offense do you need? How about some defense? How about a disruptor in the middle of the defense who will stop the run, who will get to the quarterback and put some pressure on him and force him into bad decisions? This was a walk in the fucking park for Matt Stafford tonight. This was a little stroll down Central Park, sitting down, eating his lunch, taking a fucking nap if he wanted to, because that's how little pressure this fucking front four gets on the quarterback, man. And if Groot's not going, forget about it, because they ain't got no one else with any type of consistency. So you're going to tell me that going to get maybe the best young defensive tackle in the game, or certainly one of them, you would not rather have him than another receiver so they can score more or throw the ball more?
I think,
come on.
But Pat, you're viewing it in one game. Like, I don't think they're going to give up 45 points next week, okay?
This has been a problem all year. Not all year, but it's been a problem plenty with the middle of this defense. It's just other teams didn't take advantage of it like the Rams did today.
Sure, but Pat, this is how the league is. Like, I've been bitching to you for the last 6 years that you don't want to freaking build your defense because the league it helps offenses. That's how it's always been. That's why you don't get a stud defensive tackle, because it's, and in the grand scheme of things, it might not matter when you go against a really good offense. It didn't matter 2-3 years ago for 13 seconds when the Bills had the number one defense in the league and the Chiefs scored 42 points. So that's why I'm going with I get what you're saying. Like, look, the middle of the field was fucking.
It's their weakness.
It was Moses parting the sea over here. How bad
the biggest weakness on this football team. We talked about this last week, didn't we? Where we talked about either the safeties or the stopping the run or whatever. To me, this solidifies it. By the way, a tortured Bills fan comment here in real time. I love this take. He says, "Give Anku his job." This dude, Eli Anku, was active for a couple games. He's back on the practice squad. They got fucking 9 million defensive tackles. Quentin Jefferson, Jordan Phillips, Dwayne Carter returned today, Austin Johnson, all these backups. Guess what? Anku, what he's good at is stopping the run. He is a good anchor in the middle. He don't give you much in the pass rush, but guess what? Either it's DaQuan Jones or Ed Oliver or Austin Johnson or Dwayne Carter, are they? This guy's been pretty good in stopping the run. He's a true kind of like one-tech defensive tackle, kind of like DaQuan Jones is.
Okay, well,
there's a problem, man. Listen.
No, I agree, but I agree it's a problem. I agree it's a problem. I agree it's a problem. I would rather score 1 billion points and beat teams' brains
This
in.
game was like a wet dream for you, by the way, wasn't it? With the offense, you hate running the ball, you love throwing it all over the place. This is like for the Bills with the offense. This is like what you dream about, man. You love this.
Yeah, I mean, it was an offensive clinic today for the Bills. Like Josh Allen looked awesome today.
I don't want to get into Josh yet.
Okay, we can't get into Josh yet because you're running the show.
Again,
you're calling the match, brother. Okay,
I'm not done talking about this defense.
Okay.
I think guys got exposed today, man. Rasul Douglas, who's been pretty good this year, he got toasted. Terron Johnson, it might have been the worst game I've ever seen him play healthy. Not if not worst, it's in the top 3.
Look,
he was awful. Bedford even got beat a couple times. DeMar Hamlin got completely smoked and got away with he got away with the call there too, but he got smoked deep. Taylor Rapp is hurting his own guys again. Although Douglas ended up getting up. But Taylor Rapp, not a good game. It's just this secondary was hot garbage. It has been a strength of this team for the most part this year. But how many tests have they really had? How many tests has the secondary had against good passing offenses?
I mean, the one game they had, they gave up 370 yards to CJ Stroud. And that Stroud doesn't look that great right now. And they had Diggs then. But yeah, look, the defense, as I said, if they go against a team that has balance, they got some skilled, explosive guys. They can be beat, and it was not. Look, it was a terrible, terrible defensive performance. Oh, awful. And look, the Rams got some skilled guys, but again, this isn't. It's not what the Rams have been in the past. Okay, and I know they're a little bit healthier now, but
they're a lot healthier.
They are.
Puka Nakua's all right. Let me ask you this:
but they still had Cup before this. Like they're not like. Well,
he was hurt too, though.
Yeah, but they had Stafford.
Is Puka Nakua the best offensive player you've seen this year go against the Bills?
No,
because he was to me. This was the most dominant performance. When's the last time we'd have to go back and see somebody dominate the Bills like Puka Nakua did? And he dominated everybody. He dominated Douglas. He dominated Johnson in the slot. He got the better of Benford a few times. I mean, he just AJ Epinesa, who by the way, I should throw his name out there. He sucked too.
Yeah,
I use that word suck again. He got beat on 2 times where he didn't seal the edge. He was awful in this game as well. But to me, that was just Puka Nakua he was too good for the Bills defense, just straight up.
I mean, Derrick Henry had almost 200 yards rushing. I mean, that was a great performance. But yeah,
it was in one play though.
Yeah, sure.
He dominated. Don't get me wrong, but not like this, man.
They couldn't. That's why I don't know. I can't see another. The Bills have been pretty decent against like passing teams like in the last couple of years. They have their one clunker against some teams. Like they had the clunker against the Eagles last year where Hurts was awesome and obliterated them. Nakua, he kicked their asses today. But you know what? The Rams made some great catches, and I thought like they were
great players making great plays.
Yeah, there were some contested balls.
Sure,
that like the cornerbacks were there, and the Rams
that tiptoe catch that Nakua made on the sidelines. I thought he was out by 3 yards. I couldn't believe he got his toes down. The Cooper Kupp touchdown again, where he nestled the ball off his thigh pad and still had the concentration to come down with it. Yeah, 100%. They're great players. I mean, look, we should probably, at least on the offense, tip our cap to the Rams. I still think they're a very formidable offense when they're healthy. Their defense, which, by the way, we'll get into the offense in a second here, but the Rams defense, at least coming into the game, their defense was decent. They led the NFL in pressure percentage with the pass rush, which wasn't a factor in this game. I don't know. My confidence level really went down on this defense because it is just let's frustrating.
Let's see what the defense when they play, because they haven't, like you said, they haven't been tested all that much this year. But again,
sure,
it is a concern. Like I think, as I said, if they go against a balanced team, they can have issues. I don't think they're bad enough where they're going to give up 45.
No,
like 44, where the hell they scored tonight, or the Rams scored. A couple things, and then I'm sure you want to take a break because we're at 35 minutes over here.
No, I don't want to take a break.
All right, no break for you. All right, geez, you're like
it's a break-free episode here of Talking Buffalo. At least on the video side, anyway.
All right. Couple things before we get to the offense, I thought the Rams two things on that final drive. I thought the officiating was very shoddy today at different junctures. Like
yes.
I thought Von Miller got held like at least 3-4 times.
Mhm.
There was one like even on the touchdown at the end, like Cooper Kupp like mugged one of the defensive backs on that screen. He did get mugged, and then
Close.
the worst
The false
the
start was
false
the
start
egregious
was.
one. It was the
I
same play too.
I was at a fucking bar watching it, and I'm like 20 feet away from the TV. I saw it. I was like, he just jumped, or he just moved, and it was like, I'm like, what the hell's going on? And I'm obviously like, not why they lost, but my God, some of these refs, like, just you fucking refs, like, I it just
They got some calls to go their way too, though. Like that pass
Taylor
interference on Cooper was a weak call.
Yeah, that was a weak.
There were some calls that
Sure,
kind
but
of could have went the other way.
That false start, come on, like that is
It was
not
big.
like I saw that from fucking 20 feet away on a TV at a bar with a Guinness in my fucking hand.
It goes
Like,
from, you're right, 100%. And it goes from 4th and 5. So on 4th and 5, they do that quick little pass to who was it? Nakua who scored? Or was it
probably Nakua. Let's just say Nakua.
It was Nakua.
Yeah.
What the hell am I thinking about? Probably. It was Nakua where Cooper got the block. Maybe somebody think it's a penalty. But anyway, that was on 4th and 5. If they call that false start, not to mention they ran the play, they weren't going to run it again. They're not running that same play on 4th and 10. You know what I mean? So my thought process is, well, the way this shitty defense played, they weren't making a stop, whether it was 4th and 5 or 4th and 10. But again, you don't run that same play on 4th and 5 that they were successful on if it's 4th and 10. Yeah, that was a very bad, inexcusable miss from the referees. It was almost like that Jawan Taylor from Kansas City, the way he gets away with that shit. It's kind of what it felt like that game. One other thing, too, before we get to the offense, because this was a major part of this football game here. I think special teams this season, for the most part, has not been good. The difference is it hasn't really cost the Bills this season much. We all know about the Tyler Bass Chronicles. You go back to last week's game against Frisco. The only thing I can nitpick that was bad against the Bills was special teams. They gave up 2 long kickoff returns. Cole Bishop had a touchdown wiped off because he had a penalty. They've had mishaps, a lot of them on special teams this season, but it hasn't hurt them till this game.
Yeah, I mean,
you're down 14. What was the score? It was shit, I don't remember. But anyway, the Bills punt, they were down 10. I think they were down 10. And who was it? It was Reed Ferguson. And Reed Ferguson just got blown up apart. And the Rams blocked the punt and they scored a touchdown. I'm looking for the score because I'm trying to remember what point in the game it was. I know it was relatively early. We spent so much time going off on Sean.
It was, I can tell you right now, it was 10-7, and they blocked the punt. They made it 17-7.
Yeah, that was a big freaking play of the football game. And Reed Ferguson, who's been good, all right, he's been steady for the Bills. He's never been like a big liability or anything like that, but he got trucked. I mean, this was no finesse play. This was no, well, the Rams outsmarted them with this, stunt or anything like that. Your boy just got trucked. And not only does Sam Martin get the punt block, but they score a touchdown on him, man. It's a big ass play.
Yeah, I mean, that's
monster play of the football game. It really,
if you're looking, because look, it was back and forth. The Bills didn't punt that often today. The Rams didn't either, and that was where you got 60 other way. And I feel like a little bit like the Bills are kind of playing catch up. And if you want to follow what Sean McDermott wanted, like he was like, we didn't run the football enough. Today it was because you were kind of playing catch up a lot. Like you were down 2 scores for most of the game, or like at least half the game, like in the second quarter on, and that play is kind of what you were chasing after those points because of that turnover, if you want to call it that, on the punt return. But yeah, the special teams hasn't been great, and that was a lousy play.
Big play.
Look, we're 38 minutes in, and like we've been burying the defense. We got to go to the offense. Can we go to the offense yet?
Yeah, no? I mean, look,
it was one of anything else.
It was there's been a handful of games in his career where you just sit back and you just marvel at what Josh Allen does. And what he did on Sunday on the road, where he needed to be every bit as good as he was. What more can a man do to help his football team win a game? So he throws for 342 yards and 3 touchdowns. He runs for 82 yards and 3 touchdowns. And some of those scrambles were sweet, man. So he combines 6 touchdowns, 422 yards of offense, no turnovers, and the Bills still lose. He is the first player, by the way, that performance he's the first player in NFL history to have 3 passing touchdowns and 3 rushing touchdowns in the same game. Josh Allen, folks, if you're looking for a silver lining, if you care about this type of thing, we don't need to talk about the MVP race anymore for the last month of the season because it's fucking over. The MVP race is over.
How many total yards did he have again?
422.
The Bills had
turnovers.
The
6 touchdowns.
The Bills had 445 yards in total offense. So
the running backs had 20 yards rush, 21 yards rushing on 7 carries. That's it.
Allen like had all that offense. In totality, it's kind of, I'm going to actually bring it back to the defense for 1 second, and McDermott even too. It's like, how many games has Josh Allen won for Sean McDermott in this?
A lot.
Defense? A lot. How many games has Sean McDermott and the Bills defense won where Josh Allen doesn't have his A game and he's struggling? Can we think of one
where he doesn't have? How many games have they won?
Yeah, when Josh Allen
good team. They've beaten a lot of teams where Josh has just been okay because the defense.
Well, no, I'm not talking okay. I'm talking bad. They've won. Like the point I'm trying to make.
Him, they've won in spite of him.
What the point I'm trying to make, Pat,
off the top of my head, none that I can think of.
The only one I can think of is like the Ravens playoff game where Josh Allen didn't play a good game, and like they won 17-3. They got the Toronto, like their defense won that game where the defense stopped Lamar Jackson. They don't have that many moments where the defense and Sean McDermott's coaching carries Josh Allen, who's having a very off game. That doesn't happen. He's the one that carries them a lot of times when he has to be on his A game. Yeah, he can be on his, I should say on his A game, but like he could be on his B game or maybe his C game, but he can never be on his D or F game. We'll just say where the defense is going to bail him out. It never happens that way.
There's not a lot of quarterbacks who could though, but I get what you're saying. I agree with you.
Why are you taking my fucking heat? That's a good point. Come on, man. All I'm saying is there's just not that many. There's just not those moments where the defense, like Mahomes, how many games has Mahomes looked like shit this year and the defense bailed him out for the Chiefs? A lot. He's been terrible.
The last 2 years, there's been a lot of that.
There hasn't been that for Allen. That's what I'm saying. When Allen has a shitty game, the defense isn't fucking carrying the weight. Be like, hey, don't worry, Josh, you're off today. We're gonna win this game for you.
You're right.
It doesn't happen. And that to me is like it's kind of where the frustration lies at times when you're wasting Josh Allen's prime years, because when he is down, the defense isn't going to rise up to the occasion. It just doesn't happen. It hasn't happened. And I think that's the issue I have a little bit with this whole thing is like, where is the coaching and the defense to carry the burden sometimes? When Josh Allen isn't like Josh Allen, they should have won today. They had 6 billion points, and like, are we ever going to get a game where they're going against a really good team where Josh Allen doesn't have his A game, but the defense bails him out? It doesn't happen all that often.
It doesn't. But I still think today aside, their identity, this team has been, or this season has been balanced and being able to run the football effectively, and they've done that for a lot of the season. There's been games where, like, say the Jets game, Ray Davis kind of carried them offensively, had a huge game, ran for like 100 yards or 97 yards, was really good in the passing game. James Cook has had a couple great games this season where Josh just had to be okay. Josh Allen's stats have been down. They might not be as down after this game, but he hasn't had to be Superman often this season. He was today, and it didn't matter. And that's what sucks the fucking most about this game. He was Superman, and they still lost the game.
The thing is like with Sean McDermott talking about the running game, like that he wishes after the game that he wouldn't have ran the football more. I understand that to an extent because wait, hold on. I'm going to tell you why. Okay. Like, yes, you scored 42 fucking points, but the problem was the stupid defense couldn't get off the field. And we've talked about this. We talked about this last year in the Chiefs-Bills game, that the reason why the Bills in that playoff game wanted to run the ball 5,000 times was they wanted to keep the defense off the field. If you're running the football, and this has been why the Bills have been successful this year, you're keeping the defense off the field. That's what Sean McDermott wants. Sean McDermott loves his defense. We all know that. You look at time of possession this year, I am sure the Bills have won like almost all those games. They had the ball for 20 minutes today, Pat, or 21. Huh? They scored a point every 30 seconds by those metrics.
It's fucking nuts, man.
Yeah, and I think he wants their defense to be dominant, and I think a key to that is running the football because he wants the defense off the field. He doesn't want these running gun games because he doesn't want it. He doesn't want it. I mean, I love it. It's fun. I mean, I think, you don't have a block punt. Maybe you win this game. And like, we have like a great Josh, but that's why he wants to run the football. He wants to keep his defense off the field, which, I'm not exactly, enamored with that philosophy, but I get it because they normally don't have, like, I would say they don't have the offensive weapons, but today they scored freaking 42 and like it wasn't enough.
And they were without their first round pick of a year ago, their tight end, and their second round pick, first overall pick this season, Keon Coleman, which is just crazy, man.
Yeah. I'm going to declare this. I don't know how many more running downs we have to go through, but like Shakir, I was wrong I made fun of you all the time about Shakir and like, cause you liked him a lot. And I was like, yeah, he's fine. But he was a stud today. And let me say this.
He's a Pro Bowl.
I've been wanting to say this for 2 months. And I was like, I don't want to say that about him because that's too much pressure. And I think you'll agree with me, possibly. He reminds me of Andre Reed, where he is not the biggest dude in the world, but he can break tackles. He is great, run after the catch. That's how Reed was. That was his bread and butter. But Reed was cut, but he wasn't like T.O. He wasn't like going to run you over. Like, he didn't look like a guy who would run you over, but he would break tackles all the time. Shakir, you look at him and go, oh, that's like Wes Welker or Cole Beasley. No, that's a guy who breaks tackles, and he's hard to bring down. And I see a little bit of that. Like, I'm not saying he's going to be a top 10 wide receiver of all time or whatever Reed is, his metrics. He reminds me a little bit of that. Like, just great run after the catch. Just his body. Look at his body. Compare the bodies. They kind of look the same to me. And he was great today. Cooper was good too. He almost had 100 yards today. And, those two guys really put in the work today. And
it was more than just those two. I want to go back to your Shakir take because that's a good take. It's a good take. Now, my first thought was like, no, but because Shakir's just a pure slot guy. But you're talking about his ability to catch the football, his ability to break down,
like he just
his yards after catch. He took a short pass today, 2 plays. Come on. He takes a catch and he breaks tackles and he scores a touchdown. That was just unbelievable. I'm waiting for him to get tackled. Where's he going to get tackled? But he's not going to get tackled. And the concentration to come down with that ball when he was going to get drilled by a safety at the goal line in the fourth quarter. What an unbelievable catch. 5 for a buckle, 6 and a touchdown. You mentioned Cooper. I mean, Josh Allen was Superman, but he had some help. Shakir made a couple, great plays. Amari Cooper had that unbelievably good catch. He had 6 for 95 yards. Those guys, and it's so weird to have anything negative about the Bills offense, but there were times where like him and Cooper weren't on the same page, Josh. You could see it too, but his 6 catches for 95 yards. Mac Hollins, I feel like we say this every week now. Another big play. He had 4 catches for 57 yards. That nice touchdown. That was not an easy catch to make. A perfect throw. But he had a defender's arms right there. He also had a hell of a block on that Ty Johnson screen. A wide receiver, a running back screen that works in this economy with the Buffalo Bills. Ty Johnson, a 41-yard touchdown, and one of the key blocks was from Mac Hollins. Again, Josh Allen did not get sacked once. The Bills put up 445 yards of offense. Josh was amazing, and he is the MVP at this point of the season. He didn't do it by himself. He did have help.
And like, I'll credit Joe Brady. Like, those screen passes were great. Like, perfect design. Mm-hmm. The Bills have a screen game, guys. Like, they can get the running backs involved and not just check downs, but in the screen game. It was great. And Ty Johnson, like, that guy's got like, give him some space, and he's got a motor. He can fly. But
I'm looking at the Bills drives for these games, and it's just it's nuts. It's crazy to me, man. They had a touchdown, then the block punt, then touchdown, then the punt, which was the 4th and 2, which I think they should have went for it, and they didn't. And that was the first half. Then they had a punt in the second half, but then it was touchdown, 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 touchdown. They had a touchdown on their last 4 drives, and this defense could not find a way to win. I've seen a lot of people in the chat. I want to at least bring his name up because kind of a mixed bag for me. Matt Milano. So Matt Milano got to start again. He struggled at times. Early in the game, he looked slow. I'm telling you, he kind of looked slow. Somebody pointed out on social media that maybe last week playing in the snow where everybody was a little slow-footed, his lack of speed kind of got masked a little bit. You saw it a little bit here, but I also thought he had some good moments too. I'm still of the same mindset I was last week. he's an all-pro caliber player when he's Matt Milano, even if he's just a Pro Bowl at this point, whatever. But you got to take the good and the bad with him to get him to where he needs to be late in the season. I did see a good amount of people, even somebody in the chat here, kind of almost clamoring at this point for Dorian Williams. I don't agree with that. I think you got to roll Milano, and you got to get him back.
I don't really look the rushing defense today. I thought it had some issues in the first half a little bit. And Milano, like you said, he definitely had some plays. He did make a nice play at, like, I think he stopped a guy. He stopped someone in the backfield, a running back. But like the Bills, the Rams had just 3.3 yards per carry today. And you would take that, which is kind of amazing. I thought Williams was rushed for more, but they really clamped him down in the second half, which, you know, the Bills defense, I'll give them some credit, like a little bit, tiny bit. But like, yes,
They give no credit. Credit. Zero credit.
Can I give the look, 3.3 yards? It's fine. But yes, the secondary was a disaster. They couldn't get pressure. But yeah, Milano,
you can't give that defense no credit, dude. Zero freaking credit. Listen to this. Touchdown. Here's the Rams possessions. Touchdown, yeah. Field goal, touchdown, end of the half. They ran the ball out at the end of the half.
Thank God.
Second half. Touchdown, punt, which was literally the one time the Bills defense stepped up the entire game, and then they had a punt when they just ran the ball 3 times at the very end of the game and literally ran out the clock on the final play with the punt. So I'm not even going to count that. The Bills had one legitimate forced punt this entire football game. I don't give a shit.
They almost
give a shit about their rushing stats, man.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, King. But you know, it could have been 2 punts if Sean McDermott takes the fucking penalty and like it's 4th and 7. I know you're completely convinced they were going to go for it. I'm not until
100% they were going for it, dude.
Sean McVay doesn't really go for it all the time on 4th down. He's not that big of a gambler.
You're saying so it's 4th and 5, they're going for it, but if it's 4th and 7, they're not?
Yes, because I think it's possible. I don't know.
No way.
Okay, but you know what? Maybe they're like, fuck it, let's just fuck with the Bills. You're right.
I don't like the decision to give them 2 chances. You had agreed. See, that's a bad take. That's a terrible take from you. You did have a good take, though, earlier in the show when you said it was 3rd and 17 and they were just willing to give them fucking 10 free yards to make it manageable.
Yeah, but maybe they... Okay, fine. Whatever. Either way, fuck Sean McDermott the last 3 minutes of this game. Like, he pissed me off today. I was ready. Oh, hey, you know what? If they give up a first down here, like a normal team, like, oh, they get a touchdown, then okay, it is what it is. But then having those 2 plays in a row pissed me off about Sean McDermott, but accepting the penalty and freaking the soft defense. That's just
I want to play
off.
I want to play a little game here. I want to play a little game. We like to do what I've labeled Mount Flushmore, not Mount Rushmore, but Mount Flushmore. Oh, we've done this a couple times. We're about to do it again right now. I'm going to have the Mount first. Let me play a little. Oh, I love the sound of that toilet flushing. The Mount Flushmore. The Mount Flushmore.
Go ahead.
This is my Mount Flushmore for this game, this football game. What 4 Bills? And there are a lot of candidates, but my Mount Flushmore. So obviously the 4 worst Bills of this football game. Here's mine. Let me know if you disagree with any of them. Okay.
Sure.
First. And these aren't necessarily in order, but these are the 4. Like Mount Rushmore is not 1 through 4. It's just 4 collectively. Number 1, Reed Ferguson. That's just, you're only out there a couple times a game. You can't get bowled over like that. That block punt, return for a touchdown, made it a 10-point game, and that ended up being a huge play in the game. So although he was only out there a little bit, Reed Ferguson's on my Mount Flushmore for this game. Rasul Douglas is on my Mount Rushmore for this game. I thought he was terrible. And I'm a pretty big Rasul Douglas guy, man. He's a physical dude, but he got beat a lot. He got called for 2 penalties. Could have been 3. 1, he got called for pass interference and still didn't make the play. So I'm going to go with him. I thought he was terrible. My 3rd is AJ Epinesa. I mean, again, I know he did have a nice run stop on a Puka Nacua end around in the 4th quarter. But that aside, again, he was setting the edge wrong on both those 2 touchdowns, and he just got no pressure on the quarterback. He didn't do anything this entire game. So that's my 3rd. And then last but not least, and this is crazy because he's probably one of the top 3 players on this football team. But this game only, Teron Johnson is on my Mount Flushmore. I thought he was bad. I thought he got exposed in man-to-man a handful of times. There was the one play, I remember, it might have been Karen Williams who scored. I don't remember. It was a screen pass out, and he just stopped, and he waited for the blocker to come get him, and the Rams scored an easy touchdown. I just didn't like anything about his game, and he's such a great player, but I just thought he was horrible. I thought he was lousy for this specific game. So all-pro stud Teron Johnson is Mount Flushmore for me against the Rams. Anyone on that list that you would take off and put on someone else?
I would take off Reed Ferguson because he's a long. I didn't.
Cost 7 points.
Okay. Well, first off, I'm putting Sean McDermott on there instead of Reed Ferguson for this game. The last, I've been bitching about the last 3 minutes pissed me off. Okay, so he's on the list. You had, who was the fourth guy? Wait, it was
Ferguson, Douglas Ebenezer, and Teron Johnson.
I'm taking Teron off because I really do feel that the Rams. Look, he wasn't good today. Neither was Douglas. I think the Rams made some great plays today. They had some great designs, like Fairburn Jr., McVay over there. Like he looks, he just is a great X's and O. He outcoached McDermott and
circles around him.
Circles just around them.
Like McDermott usually does, and Mike McDaniel. McVay did that to McDermott today.
Yeah, yep. I'm putting. I think it's a cross between the officials, because the officials really pissed me off today, even though I know they didn't lose. Look, can I just hate the officials? Okay, they're probably
Mount Flushmore worthy though.
I would say, you know what? I'm going to put Ed Oliver on there because I know that will appease you as the Grandmaster, because you can't, But by the way, since confession, because you sent me that rundown, I didn't see the last line, so I'm like, oh, we're doing a Mount Flushmore, so I did that all on the top of my head, so that's why I'm a genius.
So you're going to put McDermott and Oliver in,
yes,
and you're going to take off Ferguson and Teron Johnson.
Yeah, Teron Johnson, they're gone. Yes,
Ed Oliver's worthy. Because of who he's supposed to be compared to who he is. How many times this season, Joe, even when it wins, I mean, they've only lost 3 games. They won 7 in a row before this. But how many times this season, and say, I know you weren't doing the show with me last year. We were, what we call it, our feud or whatever.
Yeah.
But how many times over the last couple of years has Ed Oliver been a guy where you're like, where's Ed Oliver? I'm begging for Ed Oliver to do something.
He has not been as good as he was last year. Last year, I thought he was much better. Like, he had more splash plays. He hasn't been this year.
Too many people treat him like a 5th-round pick who's kind of like a pleasant surprise. Or like, say, Dwayne Carter, a 3rd-round pick, as opposed to a top 10 pick who is got a 4-year, $17 million extension a couple of years ago. And I'm not saying that's a ton of money compared to some other defensive tackles, but I expect more from the dude. And when he plays like he does today, this team is going to be in trouble when they play against good teams. We're going to get out of here in a few minutes. I do want to say, though,
go ahead. I was going to say, to sidebar a second. If you're going to do a Mount Flushmore after games, we need to do like a Mount, like we have to figure out a Mount like Pleasant or something like that. Of like, if they win, we put like 4 really good guys on this mountain. Like, I don't know what we call it.
Sure,
it has to be like we'll figure it out, but like wrestling names or something, like the 4 Horsemen. That's what we'll call it. The 4 Horsemen of the Bills. Like, and that's what we're gonna do when they're good. The 4 Horsemen. But anyway.
Tortured Bills fan 85 says Oliver's been on a milk carton all year. Well, Ed Oliver played really good against Kansas City. I'll give him that, and he played really good in week 2 against Miami. I'll give him that. But there's just been way too many times. Got a couple comments. Tell Bucks.
My boy.
So he says Jalen Carter's defensive player of the year candidate. It's not a bad take, unlike the Sam Darnold one. All right. So
what's your Sam Darnold one? What'd you say?
Sunday, this was before the Bills game too. Sam Darnold, who threw for 5 touchdowns today against Atlanta and is on a team, quarterback of a team with just 2 losses this season. I said, is Sam Darnold now in this MVP conversation? Meaning I do think he should be at least in the conversation now. And I kind of got ridiculed by that. Tone's ridiculing me there. But no, he's not alone, though. There were some other people who said, what are you, nuts? I'm like, yo. Now, in fairness, I looked up his stats. I thought he was at 28 touchdowns coming into this game, and then he threw 5. I'm like, well, he's got 33 touchdowns with a month to go. But he was at 23 touchdowns, and he was at 28 after the game against Atlanta. He's not, look, the MVP race is over. I'm telling you now, it's over. It's over as long as Josh don't get hurt over in the next game or 2. Josh might not even have to play the last 1 or 2 games, and he still would win MVP. The MVP race is done, which, by the way, in the heat of the moment here, I'm going to give you another hot take. Okay. I think Josh Allen's the best player in the NFL. There's nobody in the league that's better than him. Nobody. I know Mahomes is the winner. Patrick Mahomes is special. He's elite. He's great. He's an all-timer. He might end up being the greatest quarterback in the history of the NFL when it's all said and done. But right now, 2024, today, nobody in the NFL is better than Josh Allen. Do you agree with that?
I mean, yeah, I could say that. I could say so. Yeah. Sure. Yeah, but like it could change. Like it's you gotta wait see what happens with the playoffs. But yes, because the MVP is all about the regular season, sure. But
I'm not talking about MVP. He's just the best player in the NFL.
Yeah, sure. I mean, yeah, sure.
What a luxury it is.
Yeah, sure. I used to have in Splash. Yes, in the movie Splash. Anyways, yes, it's definitely a luxury to have Josh Allen. Like he's the fucking man. Like he is. Look, I'm gonna say this right now. All-time Bills greats, top 3: Bruce, OJ, Josh Allen. That's it. Like, yeah. I'm putting it right there. Like he's better than Jim Kelly was, and I watched those Jim Kelly days.
He's still got years to
yeah.
pad.
I mean,
he's still got years to pad that resume too.
He's gonna own the touchdowns, the total touchdowns, passing yards, rushing touchdowns. He's gonna own all those records when it's all said and done. He's the man.
I agree with you there. And by the way, too, I also want to thank everybody who's been watching this on the live side. We're well over 1,000 people who've tuned in live here.
That's a good number.
After a loss late on a Sunday night.
I've been telling you, people care more. People tune in more for losses than they do wins.
Well, I don't like doing these kind of shows. I'll tell you that.
No, you love it. You're so angry. Like Jesus Christ, go play it. You said suck 75 times. You were so angry.
I think it's therapeutic. Sometimes if you're an angry person in general, like
that's you.
I think we both are, but early me tonight.
I'm on medication, so I've been happier. Anyways, go for it.
I'll say this though. We were talking about Josh Allen being the best player in the NFL. Whether people agree with that or whether they don't agree with that, it's fair to say Patrick Mahomes is the best player in the NFL based on what he's done. All right, that's fair. I still think Josh is the best player in the NFL right now today.
And it could change. Yeah,
but yeah, it could. It's not anytime real soon, though. But anyway, even though they lost this game, it's funny because in a way, I actually have more confidence in this team right now in this moment than I did before this game started.
And why were you so angry the first 30 minutes then?
Because the defense lost the game and Sean McDermott helped contribute to a loss that should have never happened. Straight up.
I don't know about never happened.
The Bills defense plays average. Sure. In this game, the Bills win by 2 to 3 scores. Literally, the Bills win by 2 to 3 scores.
Sure.
But here's why I got more confidence now in this team. Up until now, it's been like, all right, well, the Bills offense, which has been really good all season long, scoring points, but it's been running the football, being a physical team with an identity, playing really good defense, just taking advantage of bad quarterbacks or bad opponents, whatever. But they ran into an offense they could not stop today on the road against the pass rushers. By the way, the Rams defense has not been that good this year, but that pass rush has been incredible this season. Nothing did they do to stop Josh Allen, and they put up 42 points. I'm more confident right now in this football team because of what I saw from Josh Allen and the offense. And again, without Dalton Kincaid and without Keon Coleman, man, I can't understate that enough. And I also got to assume, I hope that I'm rightfully assuming, that I don't think it's possible for the defense to play this bad again. I don't know if you look at the AFC right now, that there's an offense with a quarterback and receiver tandem and running back tandem that is better than the Rams. And then you're like, the Rams, 7-6. Well, Stafford, Puka Nacua, and Cooper Kupp, when they're both healthy, and Kerryon Williams, I'm not sure that there's a better combination that the Bills will see the rest of the season, minus Detroit, this coming game. I'm talking about in the AFC. I'm talking about the AFC. Sure. I'm not sure they're going to see talent at that level again. I got to assume this defense will be at least somewhat better, and I'm going to assume that they're not going to get a fucking punt block for a touchdown return either. So I'm more confident in this team right now because of what I saw from Josh.
Yeah. The Bills have scored now 30 or more points 10 times this year. Last year, that number was at 6, and they got like 4 games left. So they've been scoring a gazillion points. But yeah, I hear you with like, hey, the Josh Allen, like the offense is trimming. And the defense, I don't think, as you said exactly what I said, like the first half when you were yelling and your fucking top was on fire and smoke was coming out of your nose. But yeah, like I don't think. Look, I have concerns about the defense, but I don't have concerns that they're going to give up 40 again. I mean, I'll be shocked if they do. I mean, they might next week, but whatever. But it's Josh Allen's just a freak. He's just awesome. Like
the most concerning thing about the defense is they had a real test and they failed it miserably, but they also failed it miserably at full strength. Like nobody was hurt. There were no missing pieces to say, well, Vaughn wasn't out there, he's suspended, or Tyron's hurt, or Bernard's hurt, or whoever's hurt. They all were out there. All 11 and all the key bench guys anyway, were all out there. So we'll see. By the way, Rasul Douglas hurt his knee and didn't return at the end of the game. We'll see how that plays out. You might Kyrie Elam, who can't even get active on Sundays. He'll be the guy who starts if Rasul Douglas has to miss time. Detroit's probably not the best team to have to go out there and count on him against. But
hey, remember when Elam had that great training camp and all you football bros were like, "Oh, he's going to be an impact guy for them this year," and he hasn't done shit. He hasn't played at all.
Let me read a take for everyone out there, man.
Oh, gosh.
We fight all the time, and he's kind of a douchebag. Not kind of, he is a douchebag. I'm talking about Tone Pucks, of course.
Oh, God.
Talks to me like a douchebag all the time, but I'll give him some props for some good takes on occasion.
You should have posted some text, by the way, from people texting us in here.
The Bills lose, which is their third loss, and Kansas City's only got one loss, and as we're recording this, they're up 13-0 at the half at home against the Chargers, and Justin Herbert's hurt. Let's just assume that the Chiefs don't blow that game. So now the Bills are 2 games behind the Chiefs with just 4 left, and the Bills got to go to Detroit. If you're looking at it from the Bills, still, the number 1 seed in play, you almost have to win out because, again, the Chiefs would have to lose. If the Bills, let's just say the Bills lose to Detroit, just for shits and giggles. I hope it don't happen, but let's just say that they lose next week as well. That would give the Bills 4 losses. If the Chiefs win today, they'd have to lose 3 games at the end. They still play at Cleveland, Houston at home, at Pittsburgh, at Denver. None of those games are locks. So even if the Bills were to lose, it's not over per se to Detroit. I'm saying it's not over per se for the number 1, but the Chiefs would have to fall apart, which, again, not the greatest teams. But Tone Puck says this, and then we're going to get out of here in a few minutes. But he says he's going to be over this shit by tomorrow. I will be over a lot of it, but I won't be over the Sean McDermott timeout. That's something I won't get over. I've already told you that, though. He says, we ain't going to be worse than the 2, meaning the 2 seed. And if you really think about it, the 1 is probably more likely to see Baltimore than the 2. And I'll die on the hill if you gave me the choice of being the 1, but having to play Baltimore in the divisional round, or being the 2 and Kansas City gets Baltimore in the divisional round, I'd pick the 2nd seed all day. Tell me I'm wrong. You agree with that? If you do, that means that Baltimore is absolutely the team that you're most afraid to play in the playoffs in the AFC if you're the Bills. That's agreeing on it kind of.
I mean, Baltimore does scare me probably the most. Pittsburgh's kind of a unique team, because they're getting competent play from Russell Wilson. And
they're only a half game behind the Bills right now for the 2 seed. I just want to point that out as well.
Yeah, so that's kind of a little bit. But yeah, I would say Baltimore's kind of like the team that I would worry. I still think the Chargers are sneaky. I know they're losing, but I think they're sneaky bad matchup against the Bills. But
sure. By the way, Pittsburgh's only a half game behind the Bills, but their last 4 games, dude, check this out: at Philly, at Baltimore, Kansas City, and Cincy, who might have folded their tent, but that's 2 losses probably there along the way. So the Bills are going to be looking in. Plus, the Bills would hold a tiebreaker as of right now anyway over Pittsburgh. So it seems like the lowest, unless the Bills lose a game they have no business losing, like the Patriots or the Jets, the Bills, the 2 seed's going to probably be as low as they go. The only thing I don't agree with necessarily, why I still would want the 1, is I don't think it's any kind of given that Baltimore's going to finish 4th, or they would have to be 5th, actually. They'd have to be the 5th seed, and they'd have to beat the 4, and the 4 is certainly going to be Houston, it looks like anyway, in the first round, which they could. But if they finish in the 6th seed and not the 5th, because the standings right now, Baltimore is actually the 6th. The Chargers are, they're going to probably lose this game. They're tied right now with the Chargers. So if Baltimore finishes 6th and the Bills are the 2, they could still see Baltimore in the 2nd round. Just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to get that bye. That's my big thing, like get the bye, and then also I'm going on vacation the week of the wild card game. No, not to humble brag, but I'm going to Florida for 2 days, and I'm going to Mexico for another 5. So I'm going to miss the wild card. I will watch it from. I think I'm going to watch it from Florida. But
I
then
criticized you earlier, but
yeah,
you know what? Upon reflection, I was wrong because you don't live in Buffalo. You already you don't watch the games in the city anyway because you don't live here. If you live in Buffalo, folks, and you go and you plan a vacation for playoffs, you're an idiot. If you live in Buffalo, if you don't live in Buffalo, it don't really matter where you're watching the game. It's not Buffalo, no matter where you are. But if you live in this city and you're not going to be around this vibe for a playoff game by design, you're crazy.
yeah,
Holy
no,
shit. Breaking news. Breaking news.
Go ahead.
Baseball, but still fucking huge news. Juan Soto and the New York Mets
He's going
are in a 15-year, $765 million contract. You got a calculator on you? 15 years, $765 million. I'm going to tell you what, as a Yankees fan here, I'm kind of reacting a little bit in real time, but as a Yankees fan, I am not that pissed off. I'm really not. I'd rather take that money. You could go sign 3 good players. But anyway, that is $51 million a year for Juan Soto. That is insane. But anyway, yeah, if you live in Buffalo and you plan a vacation for the playoffs ahead of time, you're an absolute idiot. If you don't live in Buffalo, that is perfectly fine. Where's that Von Miller take? Someone had, I want to pull it back up on the screen.
Yeah, he said, how's that Von Miller contract working for you?
With respect, I'll say this. If there's one player on the defense who I thought did not suck in this game, it was Von Miller. Von Miller was one of the very few players on this defense to have any sort of positive impact. You can make a case that Terrell Bernard played all right, too. Von Miller had a couple nice stops, rushing stops. He got held. You said it. He got held a couple times where the refs didn't call it. I actually thought Von Miller played well. I actually thought.
Wait. So you're giving compliments to the defense now, Mister? No. I can't give compliments. You just said he played well. That's
Von Miller, one guy, one fucking guy.
That's a compliment. You can't. Why don't we? Can we go through the comments? Why don't we? I
got a couple. I just got a couple. The Bills should give Hyde the Soto.
With the Soto contract. No, your boy signed finally after I made fun of you last week for bringing him up. I'm like, stop bringing him up. He finally signs, guys. He's not going to do anything. Okay, like he's there for. He's Eddie Robinson without being on the field. Like he's a coach, coach.
I agree with you. However, a team, and I don't understand why teams don't do this more. I know how far back he plays, but DeMarcus Robinson just smoked. He smoked DeMar Hamlin on that deep play. It ended up being a double pass interference. How do you get a double pass interference? It was interference on the offense and interference on the defense on the same play. That shit was just absolutely.
Oh God!
Freaking,
you're obsessed with Hamlin. He had a bad play. Whatever. I mean, he had a horrible. Everyone had a horrible game on defense. All right, time for Lamar to take a seat. No, we're not taking Lamar.
I think he meant DeMar, but yes.
DeMar, no,
he's not taking a seat. But look, man, he is.
Micah Hyde's not saving the secondary people. I'm sorry, he's not.
DeMar Hamlin, and I think we saw it again on Sunday. I said his ceiling is he's a perfectly fine safety. That's his ceiling. His floor is he's a below average safety. He's never going to be, oh my God, this guy is fucking the shits. He's awful. He's never going to be that. He's also never going to be, this guy is a Pro Bowl caliber, really good safety. He's never going to be that either. He's going to be what he's going to be. And what he's going to be is a starter for the rest of this year. And then Cole Bishop's going to be the starter going after.
Yeah, because he's a free agent after this year. Isn't Hamlin, if I'm correct? Is he
no, I believe he's still got one more year left on his.
I thought this was his 4th year. Was he a rookie when he started a lot in 2022? I thought he was a
6th-round rookie, and this is his 3rd year. Yeah, he was a rookie when he got hurt, 2022.
Oh, was he? Okay, he played a lot in 2020.
Yeah, so he still got one more year.
All right, got 1 year. But yeah, we'll see what happens with Bishop. Milano looked lost out there. I'm going to read this. Milano looked lost out there. Doreen Williams should have played more. I don't agree with that. I don't think he was that lost. But I know Pat likes Williams, and he's been on Milano. He's prejudiced against Italians, as the guy from Goodfellas would say. Prejudice like Italians in this thing. Anyways.
I want to read one last comment. Then we're getting out of here, man. Tooch, this was an early comment, and maybe this was tongue-in-cheek, and maybe it's not. I don't know. I still can't get over Juan Soto, somebody paying a baseball player $765 million. That just blows my goddamn mind. I'm having trouble focusing here back on the Bills, but I like this comment. Tooch says, exactly what we needed right now. Refocus for the run. Listen, maybe that's a serious comment. Maybe it's not. But I will say this. This team had won, 7 in a row? Did you think they were going to win 11 in a row and then 3 more in the playoffs too and win 14 straight games? Like this team, as bad as it sounds right now, maybe this team, I'm being a little bit of an optimist, but maybe they needed this little slice of humble pie. Like maybe this does refocus them and say, listen, we can't just show up and think we're going to be good on defense, or we're not going to just, be a little soft bend, but don't break. And then we'll really shut you down in the second half. Maybe this is a turning point. I'm sick of talking about Sean McDermott being a turning point because he does some things well, but then he just invents new shit to screw up, which he did again on Sunday. Does that make sense to you, though? Not necessarily what I said, but just that statement, generally speaking, that, this is what we needed right now. There were some people in Kansas City that said they were glad that they, not the players, but like people who covered the team, like this was good for the Chiefs that they lost to the Bills so they can get that undefeated, notion out of their minds and get back to focusing week by week. I'm not going to go that far to say I'm glad the Bills lost. I'm not fucking glad, but there could be positives to take away from it.
The funny thing is, I'm just thinking about this in real time. The Bills haven't lost. Like there's 4 games left. I can't think of the last time the Bills have lost a game with 5 games remaining. Like last year, they went on that run. They don't. So they kind of don't. So it's like, okay, maybe they refocus. I don't know. I mean, they lost. There was that. The narrative at certain junctures the last couple of years was they lost that Eagles game, which was like, hey, they at that time the Eagles were really good when they were 10-1. They went toe to toe, and then afterwards, like, hey, they showed that they could almost beat a really great team, and then they went on a run. And then the year before that, or 2 years before that, they had the Bucks game where they lost and they went to, I think, 7-6 or 6-6 or something like that. And then they won 5 in a row. So it showed that they can play. I mean, you could go anywhere with that. Like, yeah, this could be one of those like fluky, like
I've said all year, this is a different team. It feels different. Something about this team feels different. Maybe the fact that they're not going to run the table in December, maybe that means they don't lose in the divisional round.
Right. So look, I know you wanted to get out of here, but you're going to give me 3 minutes to talk about one thing, 2 minutes maybe.
All right.
The Sabers, Kevin Adams, palm tree press conference and taxes. My God, disgrace. Like, look, let me just say this, because I'm sure you're going to have, like, I don't know if you have hockey guys on this week coming up. Maybe you're trying to bribe Chris Baker to come on. But, like, you don't say the quiet thing out loud sometimes. And, like, you're not, for Kevin Adams to say that, like, we're not a destination city. Like, motherfucker, you're not a destination franchise, and you're in the NHL, which half the league is Canadian. They come from like the prairies and the fucking where Bret Hart battled bears in Calgary or whatever the fuck he did. And you're gonna act like, oh, everyone wants to go to these other places. Like, it was a disgrace, and like they lose against Utah.
It's a lost franchise. It's a joke. They're a joke.
It's an embarrassment. I'm so disgusted that 2 weeks ago we talked about how, hey, they're playing meaningful hockey because they went on a fucking road trip. We're never talking
without Tage Thompson too.
We're never talking optimistically about the Sabers until they make the playoffs. That's it. Like, I don't want to ever talk about them on here unless it's pessimistic, terrible shit, because they just are Charlie Brown or the Jets or whatever. Charlie Brown and Lucy with the football, or the New York Jets. You love to coin that, the Jets of the NHL. But like that whole press conference was utter. Just, I get it, dude. And then like it's obvious. And then you're talking about how you got to prepare for big salaries coming up. Like, Devin Levi hasn't proven anything. He's in Rochester fucking eating a garbage plate. And this Benson guy, he's all right, but like, oh, we got to prepare for him. So we're going to pay him. Like, what are you talking about, dudes? And you could just tell, like, Terry
he said he'd go to war with this team, with these guys.
Yes.
And that was as dumb as the palm tree comment.
Saddam Hussein said that in 2003 when he went to war against the USA. And like, look what happened there. But like,
no, you're right. It was frustrating.
Embarrassing. Like,
I'll say this. So
whatever.
I plan on, tomorrow's episode, as always, is kind of like the biggest Bills takeaways. And this is after rewatching the game and some film, digging into some things. So that'll be tomorrow's show. Then Wednesday, I have Matt Warren from SB Nation on, and we kind of do big picture stuff and talk just general football as well. But Thursday's show will probably be dedicated to the Sabers. I do got a hell of a lot to say, and nothing's going to change my mind. I don't give a shit how things fold out over the next couple days. I'm pretty locked in, and I always go out the Sabers. I'll have a guess.
it's just embarrassing. It's just so embarrassing. And like, I watch the Sabers here and there, but like hearing that, I'm just like, are you effing kidding me, dude? Like and then it's obviously Terry Pegula's and everyone, the worst kept secret is Terry Pegula has a big say in personnel and all that stuff with the Sabers. And it's just, they have no hope. I really wish Terry would just sell the team, use that money towards the Bills stadium and go be a hero with the Bills. Like, because right now
it's to who? Sell it to who though? It's selling it to somebody who's going to move the team.
They're not moving the team.
Give me an NBA. Well, how do you know that if he sells it? You think
they're not, dude? Hockey's still popular in that town. Okay, it's the NHL. Pat,
it wants to be popular. It wants to be popular. What?
Pat, they kept the Coyotes in Arizona for like 20 years when they couldn't get 2,000 people at the rink.
I'm just saying, you don't know what if something happens to Terry Pegula and then the trust sells the hockey team. You don't know for sure that team is going to be here long term. Like you do with the Bills. That's all I'm saying. But anyway,
all I'm saying is sell a team, okay? Sell a team, yeah. Get an NBA team, but no, sell the team and give it to someone else because he's an idiot. And he
to your point, again, I'll have much more on it later. But yeah, the press conference was embarrassing.
Yeah, that's it.
They should have just had a scrum or something like that. I got some information that I found out about that too. I'll talk about that later in the week. Before we get out of here, though, I do want to say I meant to do this at the very beginning of the show, but this game just high on emotion. A lot of it obviously annoyed and bad, but two significant things going on right now here in Buffalo that deserve a little bit of shine. And one of them is 16-year-old Sydney Sterlace from West Seneca. She advanced. She's in the finals now of The Voice. She's on Team Gwen Stefani. They're down to the final 5. Nobody in all these reality singing competitions from the Western New York area has ever made the finals, been in it at the very end. And this 16-year-old girl from West Seneca, Sydney Sterlace, is. So I'm really pumped about that. That's awesome. The final is on Monday night, actually, and then the results and the champion will be crowned on Tuesday. And then props to the UB Bulls, man. What a nice turnaround with a first-year head coach, Sean Dolak, MAC Defensive Player of the Year. He's been awesome. That team, a great turnaround, and they've been rewarded. They are going to the Bahamas Bowl January 4th in the Bahamas, and they are playing against Liberty. I'll tell you, dude, if you're a mid-major school like UB and you're going to a bowl game, going to the Bahamas is pretty damn cool, man. Being able to go out and get some sun and shit like that. So that's really cool for UB. And like I said, this 16-year-old girl from West Seneca, what an incredible story. Like I said, final 5. She's went farther than anyone from this area ever has in any of those shows. It's just really cool, man.
Cool.
So, all right, guys, that's going to do it for this episode. Big thank you again on the video side here. Over 1,100 people tuned in. I'm kind of impressed by that, especially by a loss. Most people will still be watching this or listening to this on demand. Later on, a frustrating, pathetic effort from the defense and the coaching. Josh Allen plays like Superman, and on this day, still wasn't enough. Really annoying. I'll have plenty more about this game and looking forward to Detroit over the next couple of days. Thanks, dude. Always a pleasure having you on, Joe from Queens.
Pleasure's all yours, buddy. Pleasure's all yours.
Be back, guys. Brand new show tomorrow.